This video introduces shell function as the focal point of learning how to program in the shell. We'll introduce some references later, but for the time being, we're just going to dive right into doing some shell functions. But rather than diving into bash shell syntax, decisions, repetitions, comments, files, and so forth, let's start by writing functions. Then syntax elements of the shell are introduced in the context of shell functions. There's some information on the screen here, just happens to show you where we are, but let's clear that just to get started. And where are we? We're in software. We're in my home folder, Dropbox, Commonplace Software, and a few other directories are on the stack. The first thing, the function has two things. It's got a name and it's got a body. The name is how we identify it and call it. The body is the executable code, previously maybe just command lines. Let's introduce a function syntax. There are three ways to name a function. We can say function name, and we need something to do. We'll talk about bodies later. We're simply going to echo the name of the function, and that's the complete syntax for a function. And if we say name, we see name. We echoed name. Could have echoed anything, but this is pretty simple version. Also, function name. This was introduced and leads us to the third format. Same thing, echo name, name. Okay, but can he type? Function, and what does name do? It says name. The simplest way, and the way I'll prefer, is simply to name the function name, follow it with the pair of parentheses, and then the function body, echo name. Okay, and semicolon. We'll see in just a minute how commands are terminated in the body of a function, and name produces name. Not very challenging, but that's how we define a function. There's three ways to name a function. Any of them are sufficiently fine. Here's by the way, while we're here, let's see what the function body looks like to the declare built-in command. Declare -f the function name. Okay, well there it is. It looks a little different, doesn't it? But it's in what I call the canonical format. Anytime you have a function and you declare -f the function, it'll come back to you in that format, regardless of how you may have entered it or typed it in. Let's write a function to do a little more useful work. I'm simply call it A, just to get started, a function. And we've learned how to echo the name just to know what we're doing. I don't do this too often, but it's a good learning tool. Let's list the files in the directory whose name has an S just ahead of a text suffix. Not terribly useful, it's still pretty specific, but it gets you started. We're introducing some syntax. If you didn't know about wildcard or parameter name expansion, the asterisk says anything, any part of the name, which ends with an S before a suffix. Let's print an announcement, printf, quote, that we have finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, new line, %s, another new line. You need those new lines, or we're going to string it together. And we're going to say that we're done. Done is the statement we're going to make. Now simply to say A, there is A. We have one file that matches the list, and there we are done. Earlier attempt at this, I made this mistake, and this happens if you're an awk programmer. Notice that where the format leaves that extra comment, or comma, I should say. So here we are. So that's A is a somewhat useful function. At least you can customize this sort of thing to do what you want. So now let's just take a look to have a function about functions. Okay, I call it fbdy for function body, and what does it do? Well, it uses that declare -f that we had up there, and I'm going to just take, there's our first positional parameter, which is replaced by an actual argument, fbdy. Let's call fbdy on itself, bdy, fbdy, and bingo, there it is. So declare minus f, and we could also fbdy a, and there's what a looks like when it's in the, again, the canonical format. Let's just extend that a little bit, fbdy $1. Let's give it a default, and then we'll call it, bring this to a close. A convenient default for a function is fbdy, the name of the function itself. There's that rascal again. Now if we say fbdy, what do we get? bdy. We see that it returns the function body fbdy a. The a now is the value of $1 and not fbdy. That will do it for our introduction to functions. I hope this is whet your whistle, and there will be more. Thank you for staying with me for this time.